Okay, this is exercise 1.8, the Leyland logo. This is obviously a lot of compass work here. Now, there's nothing on the page to start. I've written my name, and so if there's nothing on the page to start, we can just tape the sheet down to line up with the edge of the page, because we're going to create an original drawing in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a crosshair. I'm going to try and make sure it's as in the centre as possible. Just draw a really light crosshair. Okay, just using my T-square and my set square together. Okay. Yeah, that's enough. Okay. I might make that vertical crosshair fairly tall, and you'll notice I'm making it very light. So construction line weight. Okay. Right. So really light. I actually noticed that I've got a bit of a divot in this T-square, this set square, sorry, and I might actually swap that out later in the next drawing. This is the last time I need to use it in this drawing though. Okay, so here we go. We've got a crosshair and we need to start creating these circles. Now, we don't measure off this drawing because, as you might recall in exercise 1.1, that showed us that measuring off a drawing can create some inaccuracies, so we use the dimensions that are given. First, we've got a diameter of 60 here for this middle circle, this first inside circle. So grabbing our compass, going to set that to the radius, the radii. So that's definitely on 0. And we're going to set it to half the diameter, which is 30. Making sure the point of the compass sits on 30. There we go. Just going to draw that. Alright, so using that centre point, going to draw, we can do this firmly. It's our final circle. There we go, circle 30. Now the outside one is diameter 150, so of course 75 would be the radius, half that. So again, we set our compass to 75. So using the wheel to adjust the compass, never pulling it, they'll damage it. Okay, so there we go, 75, using the exact same centre point. If it's set up on a drawing board, you'll find that the compass will pierce the board a little bit so it doesn't move around when you're drawing your circles. There we go. Okay, so I was lucky I got it in the middle. Well done. It's a good guess. Okay, so now we've got all of these parts of this Leyland wheel. It looks like a hubcap or something like that, or some rims. So we're going to create this design in the middle. We've got a few bits of information. We've only really got one more measurement that's been given, and the rest is kind of just resetting using information that's already given. So first one is this outside one, and you can see that that outside circle is set to a radius of 60. So, and that's the last dimension that's given in this one. The rest is just using the compass and setting it to points on the drawing. So set it to 60. There it is. Now I'm going to do this one much lighter than the other two because I'm going to have to rub out some of this circle later on. Looks really small. Okay, so keeping it light. I'll firm that in when I've finished the design. You can see this one's lighter than the other two because I have to rub out part of it. Okay, just double checking that was 60. It looks a bit small to me. So triple checking. Yep, it's definitely 60. Alright, okay, so now we've got just some information given. Here we've got a centre point which we've also got here. See that centre point? Okay, making sure it's right on it. We don't yet have that point, so that's obviously going to have to be the last thing that we do. But we've got this one. I think we've got from there, we've got that one. So this radius, we've got that point, and we can set it to that distance. So setting it to the distance on our drawing, not even knowing what it is. Okay, I can draw, very light, again, an arc in that quarter. You can see that that follows that arc. That's the radius for that arc. Okay, we're going to now move it round to another centre point and do it in the next quarter. So where it sits there, okay, we're going to draw it there. Goes all the way to the edge. So I actually stopped that a bit too soon, so I might go back and just finish that off, making sure I keep the same centre point. There we go. Now, moving it round, got the next one. So I used that one for this one, so this one will be for this quarter. So we've got that here. Okay, so that's set to that, so I'm going to sweep it in this direction because that's easier than trying to go forward. Okay, so there it is. And the last one, which is set to there, so we're going to be in this quarter. There. Okay. So we've got all of those measurements now, all those little designs inside. So just to finish that shape, we've got this last radius that we can set this to, so set it to there. And now we've got this point, so we can set that back in. Confirm this one in because it's the final line here, making sure that sits right on that point. Meets nice and sharp. There it is. Okay, moving it round. Okay, we can do this one. Interesting. Okay, moving it round again. And the last quarter. I think I touched the wheel and adjusted it. I'm going to make sure that still stays the same. Can't even see. I don't want to put my head in the way of the camera. Okay. So there we go. You can see the shapes in there, but it looks a little bit messy still. It does not look as clean as this until we clean it up. So we've got to clean this up now by firming in our lines and rubbing out our construction lines, which is important in finishing off any drawing. Don't just leave it like this. It's not finished. Okay, people might get confused as to what is your design and what is just construction lines, even with the different weightings. Okay, so I'm going to firm in some of these lines. I might actually first firm in these ones on the inside because the outside ones okay, so I'm going to have to clean this up a bit. To make it finished. One. Making sure I don't rub out any of my shape. It's really important. If you start rubbing out shape, it starts to look messy. So use the sharp edge of the eraser. My eraser's starting to round off, but I've still got some sharp edges there. Okay, just go right to that point of that design. If I do get any messy parts on my page, I'm just going to clean that up. Okay, so I'm going to firm this in. I will also get rid of these lines too, because it just makes it look better, a bit cleaner. And then you can just see the logo without seeing all the construction lines. It's good. Careful not to rub it out in my design. if I do rub out the design, I'm going to have to draw it back in. Being really light, if I've drawn them light enough, it will be easy enough to get rid of these lines. If I've drawn them too hard, I'll still be able to see them. Keeping your drawing clean is a really important part of being accurate and making an effective final communication. Right, there we go, looks a bit cleaner. Still we've got some lines that are light, some lines that are dark, so let's fix that up. Okay, so I can still see some of my points, which is good, because I need those. So just reminding myself where those were. Okay, this outside one needs to be fixed a bit, so I'm just going to make that a bit darker, make sure it sits. If I make a double line now, it's going to make a mess of it, so I'm going to make sure that that's not a double line. It sits right on top of the old line. Firm that in. Okay, so that looks more confident and clearer what my design is. There we go. Moving it around. Final one for the outside. There we go. Okay, now I'd like to go back over these just to make that design a lot clearer and a lot sharper. Okay, so going to be using these points. Okay, set my compass, make sure it sits right over the top of the old line or it's going to make a mess. Good. Touches. So I've made sure those points touch as well. Always discovering my old center point. Okay, so making sure those points touch. Okay, last one is here. There's the center point. There it is. Okay, so that looks a lot more confident. It's a lot clearer what the design is. I don't have all those construction lines. So that's the end of exercise 1.8, the Leyland logo. Well done.